Welcome to Living a Triggered Life podcast with Keith
and Roxanne, presented by The Triggered Project.
Find out more information about The Triggered Project, go to www.triggered1.com.
Welcome to Living a Triggered Life podcast at sea with Roxanne Maskell
and Keith Maskell.
Welcome, Keith. What's going on with you today? We're still at sea.
I know, right? It's rainy. Beautiful blue water. It's awesome.
How you been feeling about our trip so far?
Deep, emotional.
Right?
As we talked about before.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing to acknowledge, I guess, the DNA of ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's grounding. It's grounding. Yeah.
In a lot of ways. You know, meeting some cool people.
Yeah.
Seeing a lot of unattractive people, which is big. You know, and it's just really good. It's just actually really good to just slow it down and be with you. Actually, it's the best thing. The best thing.
Spending a lot of quality time.
Yes.
Resting and talking.
Yes. Still feel like I need more and more rest.
Yeah.
Still feel like really tired, and I don't know if my mind has completely let go yet.
Of home and work and
just
everything.
Stuff, right?
Yeah.
Stuff, right? This isn't like, this is never like work for us in some ways, but then again, sometimes, in some ways it is in some ways.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm always thinking about creating and not like what's next, but how to continue to just elevate what we're doing so more people can hear our voice, and more people can try to have great conversations and difficult conversations about what has happened.
The leftover impact.
Yes, but also how not to kind of place it on your partner in a lot of ways. I guess that's, yeah.
Is that what we're talking about today? What do you want to talk about today?
Let's talk about, because we've had this conversation about, families, right? And how specifically we're talking about me, and really let me just say thankful for what I was given in a lot of ways. For my parents did what they could, and my grandparents and people in the neighborhood and the other folks that really poured into me.
Your village.
Community people, folks at the church. There were a lot of people around me that just didn't know, what had happened to me, but just maybe they did, and just gave me love. So I'm really just thankful for that. But it was a conversation that we started to have about, and it's just, some things that people just don't know, kind of don't know about me, and kind of have this image that like things were just like given to me, right? Or I was,
It's like skewed perspectives
yeah,
about what your life is
right,
or what it was or
yeah,
who you are as a result. Like
right,
all this perspective without, like
yeah,
uninformed is what I
right,
call it.
right. But
Uninformed.
what we had talked about was about how, parts of my life where it was almost like folks were trying to destroy my dreams, right? And I know that's something that happens a lot for people in general, but not just, just the abuse alone, most definitely, with especially with the male abuser, really constantly trying to destroy dreams, right? And alter alter my life in different ways. And then also having family, um because of their selfishness or whatever their stuff was, when there were times when our lives were woven in with some of the family's life,
Yeah.
that their decisions, altered things for us,
In a big way.
right? In like really huge ways. And that, we had never, we started to talk about this, last night a little bit, but that we had never processed that effect,
Yeah.
We had never processed.
We just never talked about
We
it. Forget
never,
about
yeah,
processing.
we never taught. We never
We
really.
just never talked about
We
it.
just never talked about how, and we're thankful for where we are now. We were very thankful. I don't know if we would have been in a place where to have a podcast, to have the Triggered Project, to be able to help people, to be able to use art to change how social workers, psychologists, and educators learn about Black boys and trauma. Like I don't know if we would have had all that stuff, So like,
But more than others, I don't know if people understand that this is also changing us.
no question.
It's changed us in a different way.
Yeah.
To have the podcast, it's an outlet for us,
Hmm.
where we get to talk about things that the podcast brings up,
Right.
that, we have the opportunity to do that,
Right.
and not always have the opportunity to just sit and talk about things that happen. And
Right.
yeah,
Right. And I mean, I also just talk about things, this is not scripted. So we continue to say this is not a scripted
no.
podcast. So it's like as things come up, right? We were talking about, the travel, of, going from Portugal to Puerto Rico and what that's going to bring up. And so I believe this is just more of that conversation of, and how our lives were altered a few times, not like once or twice, like probably
Yeah.
altered 3 or 4 times
Mm.
because of other people's
Mm.
decisions.
Or how they wanted to
Right.
interrupt.
Oh,
It's more about
yes.
how they position themselves
Right.
to interrupt
Right.
what the path that we were on.
Right.
And one of the things, the way we started this conversation was really acknowledging that very early on in our relationship, um, you and I had agreements
Right.
about how we wanted to see our lives play out,
Right.
and what, specifically what your dream was
Hmm.
for your life. And you specifically, and I think this is important for people who listen to the podcast, like you actually articulated what you wanted to do with your life, and you asked permission, right? You said, "Will you help me? Will you support this?"
Right.
And you talked about it from the point of view of how your um, family wouldn't support this dream of
Right.
yours.
Right.
And you knew that was true. And so you wanted to know if I would support that
Right.
dream.
Right.
And I think that's a really important dynamic of our relationship, and something that I want to make sure that people understand, that if you don't articulate it, you can't assume that your partner is in with you.
Right.
You
Right.
actually have to have the conversation,
Yeah.
and really sort of acknowledge that, we're in it together,
Right.
right? We may
Right.
not know what the path is going to be,
Right. Almost definitely don't know what the bad is gonna
but
be.
it's sort of, this is what I want to do with my life.
Right.
Will you support that?
Right. Right. No, no, no. And I mean, most definitely, I was going to support anything that you want to do, but also realizing what that meant, right? Coming and saying, oh, I want to be an actor, blah, 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 blah. But then, getting a private audition to be put in an August Wilson play and probably would have ended up on Broadway and being too scared or being like, like, wait a minute, how am I gonna do this? I have responsibilities. Like, how can I can't just go next week and be in this show and be in rehearsals for this show. Like, oh my God, the anxiety, the fear, the trauma in the way, and not understanding that taking care of us was adhering to that dream of going for it in that moment, right? Not like I wasn't going for it, but going for it in that moment, right? And so, um, I reflect on those. I've reflect on that, and were decisions that I made different decisions, but I also understand that.
Well, you didn't take the risks.
No, I didn't take that risk then.
Yeah.
I didn't take that risk then, and I think that it was because being woven in with family sometimes is really goodness. You feel trapped, and sometimes you don't know you feel trapped. You feel trapped in like the ways and the narrative of what people think you are, and what you should be or shouldn't be, like all
or
those type
should
of,
be
or
doing
should be
or
doing
not
or not
doing.
doing,
That
like,
was a big part of
yeah,
what was going on for you and
yeah.
your
It
family.
was
I
hard
mean,
for
that
me
was
to,
my
right, it
witnessing,
was
right?
hard
I
for me to, right, it was
witnessed.
really difficult for me to really figure out. And you know um it's definitely emotional, thinking back, and just acknowledging that we were on a certain trajectory, and how that was interrupted, and how us not processing it or not talking about it, uh we put pressure
On our
on our
relationship.
relationship and on each other in a big way.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Yeah.
a big way,
And
because
there
it,
were a lot of things happening around that time, right?
right,
Like I was for part of that time, you had just gotten your first apartment
right,
alone in your adult life.
right,
And I was living in New York
right,
and I was commuting and being here every weekend.
right. Yeah, that's part of the, we haven't got to, where we, how we met, and that part of
Yeah,
it.
but that was
But
but
yeah,
those dynamics
right,
I think are important
right,
because I was also trying to find a job
right.
and I couldn't find a job.
Yeah,
And I needed something that paid me more money. The
right,
jobs I could find or get hired for wasn't paying
right,
enough to even afford that apartment,
right,
which by the way was rent control.
right, right. Which is
We still couldn't afford it.
right. We still couldn't, right. We still couldn't afford that. And I think, I mean, the other part of the reflection is, like, as soon as I had a job, like 99% of the things that happened for me was all from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, like, yeah, there was, one of my parents was gone, and stuff like that. But even, where my dad was and stuff, he was kind of into his own thing, and
He like
you
had
know,
moved like fully on with his own life.
right, exactly, right, right, right. In a
Yeah.
lot, in a lot of ways, and it's like, I'm like, man, like, it was such a strain, most definitely. Like, I mean, we really made our way from like
Zero.
having zero, like legitimately zero,
Yeah.
which we'll get into, where we met, continuing that part
Yeah.
of it. But
Yeah.
and that's the one thing people don't realize, and I'll just say it now that we live next to a crack house. Like, people didn't really realize that part where we were really, um, actually really looking for freedom, right? Looking for
And
freedom,
being totally without resources.
right? Without
When
resources,
your
right?
family had nothing but resources
Correct,
available to all of them and they were all around.
right,
But you
right.
didn't have access to any resources
Yeah,
or support or help. And I already had come from zero
right.
because I also, you know, left home at a very early age
Right.
and didn't have anything. Like
Yeah.
I was starting with zero.
Right.
So, and we're together talking about your dream, and
Right.
I'm trying to figure out what what I'm gonna do with my career in life,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And we're just right. I mean, but I mean, the thing about it, I think it's important, is to talk about how, like, we stuck together, right? Like, we stuck together, like, we're incredibly close. Like, we don't have, like, some people have said, do we have a trauma bond, and some of that,
no,
type of a relationship. Um, and I know
Mm,
of something
w-
you've
w-
talked about, and
yeah,
stuff I've talked about, and
yeah, on our
on our own,
separately, you mean,
separately, on
right?
our own
Yeah, I
side.
don't think we
Yes.
have trauma bonding. I think that we found we because of conversation, we've talked a little bit about this, but because of the beginning conversations
Yeah.
and the desire or the focus on communicating
Yeah.
with each other, we were really able to set a lot of foundations
Hmm.
that have kept us stable in a way emotionally while being impacted
Right.
by all the things around us that
Right.
were, you used this word last night when we talked. You talked about destroy being like people trying to destroy you.
Yeah. That is. that's a lot. But that
Mhm.
like, and I think that it's something that l- I don't think people understand that in some situations, abusers do not ever stop trying to hurt you
Well,
in some way.
well, and I'm gonna say from my own experience, personal experience, right, and what I witnessed for you, um, is not just the abuser; it's the
Right.
bystanders.
Right. Oh my
We
God.
both have people in our families that have been, continue to be, complete bystanders.
Right. And support and actually support what happened and what continues to attempt to happen
Yeah.
just by the complacency,
Yeah, doing nothing.
doing absolutely
Say
nothing.
nothing, do nothing,
Right.
does not take a position of what's right, like the basics of right and wrong,
Right.
does not speak up, tries to toe the line. All these things support the bad, the person who's doing the harm supports their bad behavior.
Yeah.
And, I think that creates an entitlement in the person that's actually doing the harm,
Right.
an entitlement.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's why I say we don't, this is not, I don't see, first of all, I don't really believe in trauma bonding. I think it's destructive in its own way to
Mhm.
relationships. But I think what we really created for us because of the conversations and the communication that we've always had from day one, we actually bond over our healing
Yes.
more than anything.
Yeah.
But communication is the key to all of that.
Yeah. And I mean the thing about talking about this, looking back, because we just continue to try to evolve, right? But I see where and maybe it was just too difficult for me to, because I was still learning how to talk in some
Yeah.
ways,
I
but
mean,
like
everybody
but
has
like
their pace.
like really just incredibly painful to feel like people are trying to destroy your dreams completely
Mhm.
and try to destroy the relationship, right? Try to
Oh,
put
yeah,
out
yeah.
trying
Like,
to
try to.
like people try to put out rumors that you were looking at so and so, and that you like so and so, and blah blah blah, like all these things, to try to destroy what was happening between us, but then separately what we were trying to do as individuals and together
And in life and career.
in life and career. Right.
And also tried and really interrupted our stability.
Right.
Like,
Oh
we
my God.
created with that apartment, that rent control apartment, we created a stability where
Right.
we didn't have to depend on anyone. We were
Correct.
struggling,
Right.
but we were stable
Right.
and try to destroy that.
Right. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, most definitely. Like,
And this is the stuff that I don't, even as a therapist, uh, I don't notice people understanding the role that family members play in what happened to them or what's happening for them.
right.
I don't like people, I have to actually, most of the time, because I'm so uniquely aware of it, I have to
Right.
identify it for my clients.
Yeah.
They don't talk about this
No.
stuff.
No. And that's the reason why we're talking about this, because we have to, and I mean, you could say like the message, is to find the freedom in the structure. And I've always been trying to find the freedom within the structure of the family, uh, the structure at school, possibly the structure in the hood where I'm playing ball, like whatever it
Yeah.
is trying to find the freedom in the structure, right? And the hardest thing, especially when things are rooted in family, is to make the break, and when you need to, or finding ways or innovative ways to be able to do that, like showing up late for the
An event.
for an event, limiting how much you're around, right? Seeing
How
you,
long you're
right? How
around,
long you're around,
if you're around.
if you're around,
Yeah, picking and choosing,
like
right?
picking, like
Yeah.
picking and choosing, and then also, I never really talked to my family about you at all, to be honest. I never told like I never talked to anybody about you. No.
But we were around enough that they got to experience me.
Yes, but I mean,
Just enough.
yes, yes, most definitely. But still, people will listen to the podcast and find out more about you than in my family than they ever would have ever found out. They never would have found out anything from me.
You were being
Of
protective
course,
of yourself, our
of
relationship,
course,
and me.
of course. Especially when you feel like, you know, someone's out to destroy you, and then other people are supporting that.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
I think we fared well because of our connection.
Hmm.
But are there areas where you feel like we didn't, where it really impacted our connection?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like yes, most definitely. And there were definitely times when I couldn't, where my fear, the fact that I didn't feel safe, that there were times when I couldn't stand up for myself, and that definitely had an impact on us because you're like, what the hell? Like, what are
Mm,
you doing? You know
yeah.
what I mean? Or there's times when there were situations where I could take advantage of a situation, or go out for this part, or go to this audition, or fight for a part, or some of that other
But it was
stuff.
based on how you were
But
feeling about yourself.
yeah,
That's like you had moments where you had a lot of energy
right,
to do these things.
right.
And then there were moments where you just had none and
Yeah,
couldn't really
no,
function as well as you wanted to. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
no,
I mean, I think that's true. Like, and me not really understanding what that was all about, or
right,
actually, it's not even not understanding what it was about. For me, it was more like understanding the moments, the ebbs and flows of when it happened, when it
yeah,
didn't, and then sort of being shocked and surprised when
right,
you wasn't able to, and I didn't understand what was happening, and I'd be like,
yeah,
"What?"
right. Or the fact that I, you know, from, especially after, my mother died, and then soon after, even soon after, well, no, when my mom died, then it was like I'd be activated from October 28th
Oh,
until February
February. Oh,
19th or 20th,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Especially then after when my father died, then after his birthday, then I would be completely activated the whole,
Oh,
I'd be
it's like
activated the whole
is that 6 months or
6 months,
something?
almost 6 months of
Yeah.
continued
Yes, I forgot about
continued
that.
activation of constantly being triggered,
Yeah.
constantly,
That's grief.
right? And
But
there's
that's
grief, right?
grief
There's
at its
grief,
best
yes, there's grief, right? And then
and
trying to,
complicated.
right, and then complicated. So definitely, and
Eh,
the fact that you like, I don't know what's going on, bro. Like I felt like I shut down even more, um, and didn't talk, right? Because I couldn't.
You were very disengaged
Yeah,
in the relationship, I would
yeah,
say.
yeah,
Yeah. And these are the ways that, what we're doing is we're really talking about in a broad perspective, the ways that toxicity in our families interrupted how we behave, but also interrupted how we interacted with each
right,
other. Because we're talking about you right now, but I also had a lot of the similar sort of things happen, but differently.
right.
Because I always want to fight. And I mean like physically fight. That's kind of like my thing, which is not helpful
No,
at all.
no, not at all.
Because, yeah, it
No,
has its own consequences.
right. You're always ready to light the flame for the firecracker, the Puerto Rican
Always.
firecracker.
I always used to be.
Right. Quick,
Yeah,
quick.
ignited in a
Right.
second.
Ignited in a second.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
moth to the flame.
Mhm. And I think that's the difference. Like, it's important, especially in relationships, right? Understanding that each partner's that's why I don't really believe in this trauma bonding, because we're so different and there's so many ebbs and flows that we experience it differently,
Yeah.
that it's not the same. It's so different, and it doesn't, for us, it didn't coincide with each other.
Right.
It was just detrimental to
Yeah.
our relationship, and we struggled in our relationship to figure out how to get through these moments. And, for me, a lot of it was understanding what was happening.
Yeah. But it is it's really difficult and really painful for me to really look back at it. Um because things were so intentional to disrupt us,
Mm-hmm.
and to disrupt me.
Yeah.
And that's really, like, that's really hard. Because when you see something, and then there's denial about what that truth is, right? Like that's probably the
Excuse
biggest form of
me.
gaslighting in a
It
lot of
is.
ways. And so, like, I feel like I've even through that time, work wise, with what I was doing, like, acting wise, what I was doing. Like I could see the environment and I could see the things that were happening to me, but it was like I couldn't talk to anybody else around me because nobody else could see it but me. That's how it felt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
And
completely felt like,
yeah, but this is how this conversation started yesterday, right? Was me revealing to you, after so many years of my own therapy,
mm,
I've never in therapy talked about what I witnessed. And some of it was not really being, sometimes it was that my own sort of hurt and pain,
yeah,
I couldn't really process what I was seeing.
right,
Sometimes it was anger and not understanding, and not understanding why sometimes you could activate and other times you would deactivate it, and
right,
not understanding how to help you in that time.
right,
And then some of it was just, it was so insidious, the behaviors, that they looked like nothing, but they were everything.
mm,
And I didn't really know that. And I just having had this conversation with my own therapist about, this is what I witnessed over the years of our relationship. And it's still happening differently, but it's still happening. And I never talked about with anyone, even you, what I witnessed that changed the complete path that we were both on. Like, you had my full 150% support, and I never talked about this.
yeah,
And that itself was harmful for me to witness
yeah,
and not know how to talk about it, and also not feel comfortable to talk to you about it because it was sensitive. And I didn't plan it. It just sort of came out last night. And I told you about how I talked to
yeah,
my therapist about it and what I witnessed, and the level of impact and how resentful I feel about the path being changed because people wanted to destroy your dream.
right, right. But you also said, really, like, recently you said to me, like, well, we supposed to have $1 million. You supposed to be like Will Smith. Like, what happened?
I
You know what I mean?
I know I didn't say nothing about no Will Smith. I know I did not.
But you said real clear,
I did say that. I
like, you were
said
like,
our life. Yes, I did say it because it's the truth. It was the truth. You did a lot of work to free yourself from your family and without resources. And they all had resources, plenty of resources. And however, whatever they chose to do is what they chose to do, right? But, and that's okay. But it wasn't okay to come and try to destroy what we were doing. Like, leave it alone.
yeah,
And that's what happened. And yes, I do firmly believe that. I do believe that if you made a path for your freedom from those dynamics, and you had the right to heal, But you also had the right to do what you were doing and not, and your path not being interrupted. And they interrupted it in multiple ways, multiple things. And I'm not saying that we didn't make it to where we were supposed to make it, because you and I agree we're in the place where we're supposed to be. We feel it. We know we're in the right place. We know we're in the right life.
No doubt.
We know that.
Right.
But it wasn't what we planned.
Right. Yeah.
There was a different path here.
Right.
And if there was some kind of respect of self, even if you don't have a respect for us, if you just respected yourself and just let us be, that's it. It might have taken a different route, or the route that we were working towards. And we worked really hard to get where we are.
Yeah.
This has been hard, and probably harder than it needed to be.
Mm.
That's all I'm saying.
Mm.
That's my real intent in saying what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
we weren't supposed to struggle the way we struggled.
Yeah. You want to fight? You look like you want to fight somebody right now. You want to get
Kind of.
you know.
I kind of want to fight, but there's nobody to fight, and there's no point in fighting.
Mm.
No point. There's no point in fighting. The only point I recognize, like back in the day, I would be fighting. Right now, I will put my energy fight for us. But one thing I want to say very clearly to you, because we are where we're supposed to be, and I said this to you the other day and you got really emotional about it. I said that your mother Connie was so right when she would say things to you to make sure you understood the joy that you are. And yes, maybe people were, yes, maybe we're recognizing this all happened, that people were trying to destroy your dream, and it felt like people trying to destroy you. But it's so important, babe, to realize that they didn't. You're here, you were supposed to be, and you still possess that joy that you always have. You were born with that joy. And I need you to remember that. Remember where we are, not just what happened or where we've been. Because we both know in our bodies, not in our minds, we know in our bodies, this podcast right here is legit. This is where this is where we were meant to be, to help other people understand these dynamics and to be able to talk about it. And just that, because this is your brainchild, you created this for us. Just that is changing the world.
I got nothing to say.
This is Living a Triggered Life podcast at sea with Roxanne Maskell.
And Keith Maskell.
You want to head us out?
And remember, you're no longer surviving, you're thriving. Thank you for listening to Living a Triggered Life podcast with Keith
and Roxanne, presented by The Triggered Project.
To find out more information about The Triggered Project, go to www.triggered1.com. And remember, you're no longer surviving, you're thriving, and you